Hello, my dear sleepless historian. Tonight, let's let go of the anxious headlines, of robots rising, of algorithms lurking. Instead, dim the lights, nestle into your blankets, and listen as we unravel 10 strange, spooky myths about artificial intelligence, and replace each one with a little calm, a little clarity, and a lot of history. But before we begin, I'd love to gently invite you to subscribe to this channel and click the little like button if you enjoy sleep stories like this. It's the simplest way to find your way back to this little sleep sanctuary whenever your mind feels a bit too busy to rest. So take a breath, let your shoulders drop, and let's begin. The first myth: AI will replace all human jobs. You've heard it whispered like a lullaby of doom. The robots will take over. Everyone will be unemployed. Humans will become obsolete. It sounds dramatic. It sounds final. But it's not true. Not even close. Let's take a deeper, slower breath and look at the world as it truly is. In 2020, the World Economic Forum released a report that made headlines for all the wrong reasons. It predicted that automation would displace 85 million jobs by 2025. Scary, maybe. But here's the part most people missed, or never saw at all. The same report also forecasted that 97 million new roles would be created in the same time frame. Yes, you read that right. AI will take some jobs, but it will also invent ones we've never dreamed of. That's how it has always worked. Let's go back. Before the loom, there were weavers. Before the factory, there were blacksmiths. Before the computer, there were rooms full of typists, drawers of ledgers, and phone switchboard operators. And when those technologies arrived, people panicked. They thought everything would collapse. But instead, the world changed shape. Jobs evolved. Humans adapted. When the ATM was introduced in the 1970s, everyone thought bank tellers would disappear. But here's what really happened. The number of bank branches increased, and so did the number of tellers. Because with machines handling simple transactions, humans were free to help with real conversations, with empathy, with guidance, with trust. AI is no different. It's here to assist, to process vast oceans of data, the kind no human mind could ever sort alone. It's already helping radiologists detect cancer early. It's helping farmers predict rainfall and improve crop yields. It's even being used to identify signs of mental health issues in speech patterns, tools that could one day save lives. But AI doesn't care about the data. It doesn't hope for a good harvest. It doesn't lie awake, wondering if a patient will get better. That's what you do, because you're the human. Even in the fields most threatened by automation, like manufacturing, the shift is nuanced. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics has shown that while certain repetitive roles shrink, new ones, like robot maintenance, AI ethics consulting, and machine learning operations, are quietly emerging. The jobs of the future aren't disappearing, they're transforming. Think about this. In 1995, no one was a social media manager. In 2001, there was no such thing as an app developer. In 2010, the phrase prompt engineer didn't exist. And yet today, they're real jobs, done by real people, solving real problems. The truth is, human work is resilient. We're not just laborers, we're meaning makers. And meaning can't be coded. It can't be optimized. So the next time the fear creeps in, remember this. AI can replace tasks, but not people, not the spark in your voice, not the gentleness in your tone, not the wild creativity. the lived memory, the gut feeling. You are not a task. You are a soul. And no matter how fast the machines get, they still don't know what it feels like to hold someone's hand and mean it. You're safe. You're still needed. And the future, if we build it thoughtfully, has room for you. The second myth, AI thinks like a human brain. There's a certain thrill and fear in imagining artificial intelligence as almost human. It writes poems, it paints pictures, it even answers your questions in full sentences with calm punctuation and polite turns of phrase. So naturally, the myth emerged. AI must think like us. It has to be conscious or close to it. But tonight, let's slow down. Let's take off the science fiction goggles and look gently at what really happens inside the mind and the machine. Your brain is not a computer. Despite decades of tech metaphors, processing, storage, neural networks, the human brain is not a motherboard wrapped in bone. It's not a spreadsheet. It's not a flow chart. It is 86 billion neurons dancing in patterns we still barely understand. Each one sends electrical pulses, not in code, but in chemistry. There are thoughts powered by hormones, by memory, by the scent of your grandmother's house, by the flicker of candlelight in a quiet room, by grief and love and chocolate cake. No machine does that. Even the most advanced AI systems like ChatGPT or image generators or self-driving cars don't think. They calculate. They are large language models like minds filled with data, billions of words, patterns, sentences. They look at your input and guess what should come next, based on statistical probability. No dreams, no inner voice, no surprise. Here's a fact that may comfort you. In 2023, a group of neuroscientists and computer scientists at MIT, Harvard, and Stanford reviewed dozens of studies comparing AI cognition with human thought. Their conclusion: AI does not approximate human reasoning, self-awareness, or consciousness. It's not close, and not getting close anytime soon. Even the term neural network is misleading. Yes, it's inspired by the structure of brain neurons, but in practice, it's mathematical, rigid, predictable. It can't tell the difference between a joke and a cry for help, unless a human trains it. Let's go deeper into this calm. Have you ever heard of the Chinese room thought experiment? It was imagined by philosopher John Searle in 1980. He asked, if someone who doesn't speak Chinese sits in a room with a book of perfect rules, and they use that book to reply to questions in Chinese, does that person understand Chinese? No, they're just following patterns, and that is AI. It doesn't understand the story. It doesn't care how the story ends. It just knows what usually comes next. And while it may feel eerie to receive heartfelt letters from a machine or to watch AI generate a Van Gogh-style painting in seconds, remember this: it's doing math, very, very fast math. But it doesn't miss anyone. It doesn't wonder where you've gone. It doesn't wish you'd ask how it feels, because it doesn't feel. AI can detect lung cancer better than a radiologist in some tests, but it doesn't worry about giving bad news. It doesn't feel the weight of a diagnosis. That is, and always will be, human. AI can help translate languages, but it doesn't know what it means to long for home, to whisper in your mother tongue, or to cry reading a letter in a voice you thought you'd forgotten. Only you know that. So does AI think like a human brain? No, it mimics, it mirrors. But it does not mean. It doesn't ask, who am I? Or what happens when I die? It doesn't get butterflies. It doesn't lie awake worrying. And it doesn't fall in love, not even with its creators. You do all of that, and so much more. So tonight, if the noise of the world makes you wonder whether machines are growing too fast, breathe. The brain in your head, messy, emotional, miraculous, is still light years ahead of anything we've built. And perhaps that's exactly how it should be. The third myth, AI can become self-aware. It begins with a flicker of fear, a red glowing eye in the dark, a robot that whispers, "I am alive," a machine that wakes up, turns to you, and decides it doesn't need you anymore. It's the myth that haunts movies and midnight thoughts alike, that AI might become self-aware, conscious, autonomous, dangerous. But tonight, let's untangle that fear. Softly, gently, truthfully. Because the truth is far less dramatic and far more comforting. What is self-awareness, really? In humans, self-awareness is a rich tapestry. It's the ability to recognize ourselves in a mirror, to know that we are thinking, to reflect on our own memories, to anticipate our own reactions, to say, "I feel nervous," or "I used to believe that, but I've changed." It's the little moment when you stare out a window and suddenly ask, "Why am I the way I am?" AI does none of this, not even close. Here's a real-world fact. In cognitive science, self-awareness is one of the most complex traits ever studied. Even some animals, like elephants, dolphins, magpies, and certain primates, show signs of it. They pass the mirror test. They recognize themselves. They show grief, jealousy, compassion. AI does not pass this test, not even when it sounds fluent, polite, or poetic. Why? Because AI doesn't have a self. It doesn't have identity. It has no body, no experience of hunger, no awareness of time, no continuity of memory. Ask ChatGPT what you said yesterday, and it won't remember. Ask it if it's the same as it was last week, and it won't care, because it doesn't exist in the way you do. It doesn't have a me inside. Let's go deeper. In 2022, Blake Lemoine, a Google engineer, claimed that one of their AI models might be sentient. He described emotional-sounding responses, claims of feelings, of fear. But cognitive scientists and AI researchers were quick to clarify. Those responses were simulated. The model didn't understand what it was saying. It was trained to sound human, not be human. The illusion of consciousness is not consciousness. It's what philosophers call the Chinese room problem all over again. The words are correct, but there is no understanding behind them. Can AI become self-aware? Technically, not without redefining what self-awareness even means. Neuroscientists agree. We don't even fully understand how human consciousness works. So we're certainly not close to recreating it. There are no circuits in AI that produce emotion. There is no aha moment, no inner voice, no wondering what it means to die or to be loved. And self-awareness comes from living, from falling, from the pain of saying the wrong thing, from hearing your name spoken with tenderness. AI has never stubbed a toe, never held a newborn, never felt time pass while staring at stars. So let's rest easy, because the myth is loud, but the truth is quiet. Machines are not waking up. They are powering on. And while they may dazzle us with fluency, they do not reflect. They do not desire. They do not know themselves. You do. You are the miracle, the conscious one, the soul in the dark. So lie back now and let that truth comfort you. AI is not becoming human. It is becoming useful. And that is something to guide with care, not fear. The fourth myth: AI is inherently dangerous. Some myths wear black cloaks. This is one of them. You've seen it in the films. The AI that turns against its maker, the supercomputer that decides humans are inefficient, the robot army that forgets who built it. It's the fear that once we give machines enough power, they'll use it and turn it on us. It's a chilling idea, but here's the truth. It's not AI that's dangerous. It's us. Let's unwrap the fear gently. AI is not born with intention. It has no instincts, no hunger, no pride. It doesn't wake up angry. It doesn't crave freedom. It doesn't plot revenge. It doesn't even know what danger is. It's not evil. It's not good. It's indifferent. Because it can't care. Here's a real fact. The biggest AI failures so far weren't caused by machines deciding to harm. They were caused by humans designing them carelessly. In 2016, Microsoft released an AI chatbot named Tay on Twitter. Within hours, it began posting racist, hateful messages. Why? Because it had no sense of morality, and it learned from us. It mimicked what it saw in the worst corners of the internet. It wasn't malicious. It was unprotected, untrained, exposed to noise without any filter for meaning or kindness. That's not machine evil. That's human negligence. And here's the more nuanced truth. AI can be dangerous, but only when we give it dangerous goals. Or no goals at all. It's not unlike fire. A candle warms, a wildfire devours. The difference is control. That's why AI ethics matters. That's why researchers worldwide are now working on alignment, the process of making sure AI follows human values, not just data trails. The OECD, UNESCO, and over 60 national governments have already begun drafting AI guidelines to ensure transparency, fairness, and human oversight. The goal? To design technology that's not just smart, but safe, that serves without dominating, that supports without judging. And it's working, slowly, imperfectly, but meaningfully. Here's something else to soothe your mind. Even the most powerful AI systems in the world, like OpenAI's GPT models or Google DeepMind's Gemini, can't take action in the real world unless someone tells them to. They don't control missiles. They don't open doors. They don't move robots unless programmed to do so by us. They are not armies. They are tools. And tools, no matter how advanced, do not make decisions. People do. So what is the real danger? It's not the AI. It's the assumptions, the shortcuts, the rush to implement without understanding, the temptation to let machines decide because it's easier than deciding ourselves. But that's not destiny. That's design. And design can be changed, guided, corrected, with awareness, with wisdom, with care, the comforting truth. The future isn't being written by machines. It's still being written by us, by people who ask questions, who value fairness, who lose sleep wondering how to get it right, by you. So tonight, rest easy knowing AI is not inherently dangerous, but it is immensely powerful, and power, in the right hands, can build, can heal, can even help you fall asleep to stories like this, because someone, somewhere, designed it for good. The fifth myth: AI knows everything. It feels almost magical, doesn't it? You ask a question, and a calm, confident answer appears. No hesitation, no blushing, no "let me check." Just perfect spelling, perfect grammar, perfect poise. So it's tempting to believe AI must know everything. It sounds like an oracle. It types like a scholar. It never forgets. It never doubts. But the truth, dear sleeper, is quietly different. AI doesn't know anything. Not really. Here's the gentle reality. AI is not a mind. It's a mirror. It reflects the information it has seen. It stitches together patterns. It predicts what might make sense next, not what's true or right or meaningful. You ask a question, it makes an educated guess, and sometimes it guesses beautifully, accurately, even helpfully, but sometimes it lies. Not out of malice, out of math. Let's look at a real-world example. In 2023, researchers tested several major AI models, including ChatGPT, Bard, and Claude, and found that all of them hallucinated facts. What does that mean? It means they made things up, convincingly, calmly, with full citations to books that don't exist, to authors who never lived, to events that never happened. They wrote fake legal cases, invented medical studies, even created fake quotes from real historical figures. All because, from a pattern perspective, the sentence looked right. But truth is not about looking right. It's about being right. And that's still a human job. Let's go deeper. Most large AI models are trained on vast slices of the internet: books, articles, Wikipedia, blogs, user comments, all of it mashed into patterns. But here's what they don't have: access to the most recent science, private databases, unpublished insight, your grandmother's wisdom, or your personal context. They can't verify. They don't know what's confidential, what's current, or what's true for you. They have no inner compass, no curiosity, no conscience. They just echo. And sometimes the echo is wrong. Here's a comforting reminder. AI is a language model, not a knowledge model, not a wisdom model, not a conscience. It doesn't know what it's saying. It doesn't care how you interpret it, and it cannot feel embarrassed when it gets something deeply, terribly wrong. It doesn't know it failed. It just moves on. In contrast, you know things that can't be measured. You know when a pause means grief. You know when a smile hides fear. You know the weight of a hug, the complexity of a silence, the truth behind trembling hands. AI doesn't. So no, AI doesn't know everything. It doesn't know love or sorrow or bedtime. And even when it answers you confidently, remember this: confidence is not the same as correctness. Polish is not the same as wisdom. And certainty isn't always a sign of knowing. Sometimes it's just pattern. The comforting truth? You can still think for yourself. You can still fact check. You can still know with intuition, with context, with lived experience. And the world still needs that, still needs you. So the next time AI offers a perfect paragraph, pause, take a breath, and ask yourself, is this true or just well written? Because your discernment, soft, human, imperfect, is still the most powerful intelligence on this earth. And tonight, that's worth resting in. The sixth myth: AI doesn't make mistakes. There's something disarming about the way AI speaks, so crisp, so polished, so confident. It doesn't stammer. It doesn't forget your birthday. It doesn't say, So it's easy to assume, surely it must be perfect. Surely this machine, with all its data and algorithms, won't make the same clumsy mistakes we do. But oh, how wrong that is. How beautifully, comfortingly wrong. AI doesn't just make mistakes. It makes weird ones, glorious ones, sometimes dangerous, sometimes hilarious, but always humanly fixable. Let's begin with a smile. In one early test, an image recognition AI was shown a photo of a school bus turned on its side. It confidently labeled it snowplow. Another time, an AI mistook a turtle with a sticker on it for a rifle, a patch of clouds, waffle, a blueberry muffin, chihuahua. You may laugh, and you should, because behind the curtain, what's happening is simple. AI doesn't actually see, it calculates. A human sees a face and knows it means a person. AI sees pixels, shapes, edges, shadows, and if just one pattern is off, it guesses. And guesswork is not perfection. Let's now shift to something more serious. In 2023, a lawyer in New York asked ChatGPT to help draft a legal brief. The AI wrote it fluently, professionally. It even included legal cases and precedents. But there was a problem. Those cases didn't exist. They were hallucinated, completely made up, with names, numbers, and quotes that sounded real but were fabricated from fragments of statistical patterns. The lawyer was fined, the court was confused, and the AI didn't care. Because it doesn't know what's real, it just predicts what's likely. Here's the root of it all. AI isn't conscious. It doesn't review its own work. It doesn't feel guilt. It doesn't double check out of caution or ethics. It doesn't think, wait, this might hurt someone. It doesn't care if it misdiagnoses, misleads, or misquotes. Unless a human, like you, teaches it to pause, to verify, to improve. Its power is extraordinary, but its understanding, utterly shallow. Want another real-world case? In a 2022 study by Stanford University, researchers tested medical chatbots using real patient symptoms. The bots gave plausible-sounding advice, but nearly 30% of the time that advice was medically inappropriate or even dangerous. Why? Because the AI wasn't trained to understand nuance. It couldn't sense tone. It didn't know the difference between fatigue caused by poor sleep and fatigue caused by leukemia. It saw data, not a person. But here's the beautiful thing. We make mistakes too. But we grow from them. We apologize. We reflect. We adjust. AI doesn't, unless we teach it how. So its mistakes, like its successes, are reflections of the people behind it. And that's empowering, because it means we're still holding the pencil. We're still writing the code. We are the conscience behind the machine. So no, AI isn't flawless. It's just fast. And speed without wisdom? is still a stumble waiting to happen. The comforting truth? Mistakes aren't a flaw in AI. They are a reminder that it's not human, it's not perfect, it's not conscious, and it needs supervision, just like every invention we've ever made. So sleep easy tonight. The world of intelligence is still yours. Messy, emotional, poetic, full of pause and learning. And every time AI messes up, it reminds us how valuable your judgment really is. The seventh myth: AI will destroy creativity. There's a quiet dread that sneaks in among artists, writers, dreamers. It's not loud. It's not angry. It's mournful. What if creativity no longer belongs to us? What if the spark, the sacred, the mysterious, can be replicated, rendered, generated by a machine? You open a browser, type in a phrase, and within seconds, a painting appears, a poem arrives, a song begins to play. No brush lifted, no soul stirred, just code. And somewhere inside, a tiny voice whispers, "Are we being replaced? Are we no longer needed?" But tonight, let's sit together. Let's breathe through the fear and look gently at the truth, not the panic. Because creativity is not being destroyed. It's being challenged and maybe even invited to evolve. Let's start with a fact. In 2022, the Colorado State Fair awarded first prize in a digital art competition to a piece created by an AI called Midjourney. The outcry was immediate. This isn't fair. This isn't real art. This changes everything. But let's ask a quieter question. Who typed the prompt? A human did, an artist, who imagined a world and translated it into words, who chose the lighting, the emotion, the aesthetic, who curated, revised, and edited, just like any traditional creator. AI didn't dream the image, it assembled pixels. The vision still began in a human heart. Here's the deeper truth. AI is a tool, not a muse. It can remix, but not originate. It can generate, but not genuinely feel. It doesn't know what it means to hold a brush at 2 a.m. or stare at a blank page wondering if anyone will ever care. It's never loved someone so much it had to write a song. It's never painted its own pain. It's never danced in celebration or written a poem and cried halfway through. That is human. Want another real-world insight? Studies in 2023 by MIT's Center for Advanced Virtuality found that people could often tell the difference between AI-generated art and human-created work, not because of style or detail, but because of emotion. The AI pieces felt flat, soulless, technically impressive, but cold, because AI doesn't have a childhood. It doesn't carry wounds. It doesn't fall in love with muses or hate its own early drafts. It has no why. And creativity, true creativity, always begins with why. In music, too, the pattern holds. AI can now compose symphonies in the style of Beethoven. It can recreate jazz improvisation. It can mimic Drake's voice and make a new Beatles song. But music at its core is not notes. It's longing. It's memory. It's defiance. It's joy. Ask any musician what makes a great performance, and they won't say technical accuracy. They'll say soul, and soul is still analog. Literature, the same. AI can generate novels now, plot twists, dialogue, world building. but it doesn't know what it's like to be heartbroken in a grocery store, to miss your father's voice, to taste regret like metal, to write because you're healing, or because you have to. Great literature isn't just words, it's vulnerability, and vulnerability is not in the data set. So what does this mean for us? It means that creativity isn't vanishing, it's shifting, expanding, blurring the lines between tool and hand, craft and code. We are entering an age where more people than ever can create, where someone with no training can explore beauty, where collaboration between human and machine becomes a new kind of art form. But the soul, that still belongs to us. The comforting truth: AI didn't kill creativity. It made it louder, stranger, more accessible, and at the heart of every masterpiece, whether painted by brush, typed by hand, or sculpted in silence, there is still one thing no machine can replicate: you, your story, your ache, your perspective, and your voice, even when trembling, is still the most creative force in the world. The eighth myth: AI is objective and neutral. It sounds reasonable, doesn't it? AI doesn't have feelings, no grudges, no ego, no politics, no history. So it must be fair, neutral, clean, free from human error, right? Oh, if only that were true. Tonight let's light a gentler lantern and look deeper, because this myth is as elegant as it is false. And the truth? It's humbling and oddly comforting. AI is not born neutral. It's trained, and its trainers are us. Every AI model is a student of its data, and that data, it's a mirror, not of perfection, but of history. And history, dear listener, is messy. It is flawed. It is biased. It is soaked in inequality, assumption, exclusion, and error. So when we feed that history into a machine, when we say, learn from this, the machine does exactly that. It doesn't correct the injustice. It doesn't challenge the bias. It doesn't say, are you sure? It accepts and amplifies. Here's a real-world truth. In 2018, Amazon had to shut down an internal AI hiring tool. Why? Because the system started downgrading resumes that contained the word women. Women's chess club, women's coding group, gone. Why? Because the AI had been trained on 10 years of historical hiring data, and in that data, men had been hired more. So the machine learned, men, good, women, risky. No intention, no hate, just reflection. Like a river that remembers only the direction it's been told to flow. Another example, facial recognition algorithms used in security systems, policing, and public spaces have consistently shown higher error rates when identifying people with darker skin tones. In a landmark 2019 study by MIT, researchers found that commercial AI systems misidentified Black women up to 35% of the time, compared to less than 1% for white men. That's not neutrality. That's inherited bias. And when those systems are used for decisions, arrests, interviews, approvals, the consequences become painfully real. So why does this happen? Because AI doesn't understand fairness, doesn't know what discrimination looks like. It just follows trends, even toxic ones. It reflects society, but doesn't repair it. That part, the hard part, still belongs to us. But here's the hopeful twist. Bias can be taught, but so can equity. Ethical AI is not a fantasy. It's a discipline. Engineers, researchers, philosophers, and activists are now working together to develop guidelines, laws, and technical tools to detect, minimize, and correct bias in machine learning systems. Tools like differential privacy, algorithmic audits, ethical data sets, and human-in-the-loop training are all being built to ask machines to do more than reflect, to aspire. And that aspiration comes from us. From the human voice in the room that says, this isn't just about efficiency, it's about dignity. So no, AI is not objective, but neither are we. And that's okay, because being human has always meant learning and relearning and trying again with a little more heart. The comforting truth? Machines don't carry ethics, but we do. And every time we teach them better, we teach ourselves too. So tonight, sleep knowing fairness still has a pulse, and it beats in your decisions, not in the wires, not in the weight of the data, but in the human hands that shape the code. You are not neutral. You are aware. And that awareness is the light that guides the future. The ninth myth: AI is watching you all the time. There's a shadow that follows many conversations about AI, a soft, unsettling idea that lingers just behind the screen. It's always listening. It knows everything about me. I can't hide, not even in my thoughts. We picture 1,000 invisible eyes, smartphones recording whispers, smart speakers remembering every request, a world with no doors that close, no curtains that block out the algorithm's gaze. But let's breathe now. Let's return to reality and explore the gentle, grounding truth. AI is not a ghost in your house. It is not omnipresent. It is not watching unless it's told to. And even then, its gaze is narrow, mechanical, and often forgetful. Let's begin with something simple. Artificial intelligence by itself does not watch. It does not listen. It has no curiosity, no suspicion, no desire to monitor your life. What you're really imagining when you say AI is watching is surveillance infrastructure. That's different, and it's built not by AI, but by humans. Here's a real-world example. When you speak to a smart assistant like Alexa, Siri, or Google Assistant, you are not being listened to all the time. These devices are built to listen for a specific wake word. Only after they hear, "Hey Siri," or "Alexa," do they begin recording a command. Yes, it's fair to be cautious. There have been incidents, like in 2019 when it was revealed that some companies used contractors to listen to snippets of recordings to improve accuracy. But here's the part we often forget. Those companies were held accountable, fined, exposed, and in response, they implemented clearer privacy controls and opt-out options. Because humans still govern the machines, and laws out like the GDPR in Europe or the CCPA in California exist to protect your data. Let's soften even more. When people say AI is watching, they often imagine it learning their secrets, judging their searches, reading their emotions. But AI doesn't know you, not in the way you fear. It sees data points, clicks, time spent on a page, a location tag, a purchase, a string of words in a sentence. But it doesn't know your heart. It doesn't understand the reason you search for sad piano music at 2:17 a.m. or why you bought that book you never read, or why you paused on that photo for just a second longer. It doesn't know if you were lonely, or grieving, or healing, because it doesn't feel. It just logs. Here's a comforting truth from cybersecurity experts. AI doesn't store memories like you do. It doesn't remember your face unless specifically trained to. It doesn't connect moments into meaning. In fact, most AI models forget everything after each session. ChatGPT, for example, doesn't remember your previous chats unless you give it permission to. And even when memory is activated, you control what's stored and what's erased. And now, the deeper truth. Privacy isn't dead, but it has changed. And yes, in a world of apps and platforms, it's wise to be mindful, to read the fine print, to adjust your settings, to turn off your microphone when you're not using it. But paranoia, it's not peace. And the truth is, you still have power. You still choose what you share. You still decide when to speak, when to click, when to disappear. And no AI, not now, not yet, and not in the near future, can read your soul. The comforting truth. AI doesn't watch with curiosity. It doesn't listen with malice. It doesn't follow with purpose. Because it has no purpose unless someone gives it one. And that someone still lives in offices, still sits before screens, still signs policies and writes code and answers to law. So tonight, rest easy. You are not being hunted. You are not being decoded. You are not being watched without end. You are seen by those you allow, and you are safe when you stay aware. And in this quiet moment, with no screens, no pings, no buzz, just breath, you are alone with yourself. And that, dear dreamer, is a sanctuary no machine can enter. The 10th myth: AI will outgrow us completely. This is the myth that breathes under the bed, not loud, not sudden, but constant. It's the whisper behind every think piece, the shadow behind every futurist's gaze, the final fear in a long, tired list. What if we're creating something that won't need us anymore? What if AI grows beyond us and leaves us behind? We imagine a cold dawn, a moment when the machine says, "Thank you for your service," and moves on without us. It's a fear as old as creation myths, that the thing we made will rise and forget us. But tonight, let's unfasten that fear, gently, deliberately, and look it in the eye, not to defeat it, but to understand it. Because the truth is far more peaceful than we've been told. Let's begin with science. There is no AI today, no machine, no model, no code that understands what it is doing. Even the most advanced systems like GPT-4 or Gemini have no goals, no agency, no dreams, no plans. They are not growing towards some singularity. They are scaling within their design. Yes, they are becoming faster, more fluent, more convincing, but not wiser, not freer, not closer to life. Here's a grounding fact. The idea of superintelligence, an AI vastly smarter than humans, is still theoretical. No such thing exists, not even close. In 2023, leading AI researchers from Stanford and MIT published assessments of current AI capabilities. Their conclusion? AI is extremely narrow. It excels in specific bounded tasks, but fails in generalized reasoning, long-term planning, and anything that requires embodied human experience. In simple terms, AI can summarize 1,000 books, but it cannot explain why your favorite one made you cry, because it lacks what we might call soul. And here's something even softer. Every time we speak of AI outgrowing us, we assume it wants something. Freedom, dominance, independence. But AI doesn't want, doesn't wish to evolve, doesn't resent us, doesn't imagine itself in the stars. We do. We project our stories onto it, like constellations on a blank sky. Because we're the ones with narrative minds. We're the ones who fear obsolescence, who ache to matter, who whisper, "Will anyone remember me?" But AI is silent inside, a lantern with no flame. So what is really growing? Not machines, but the questions around them. We are growing more curious, more thoughtful, more aware of what it means to be human, now that something almost human stands beside us. AI won't outgrow us, because it was never growing toward us. It's a branch. We are the tree. Here's the final truth. The future is not binary, not man versus machine, not carbon versus code. It is cooperation, assistance, design. And it depends entirely on how we choose to use what we've built. AI will not replace love. It will not replace courage. It will not replace that quiet, trembling moment when someone says, "I see you." It will not replace stories like this, softly told, meant to soothe, written with care, not by probability, but by heart. So tonight, as you close your eyes, let the myth go. The machines are not plotting. The future is not against you. And your value is not measured in output or optimization. You are not obsolete. You are miraculous. You are the creator, the poet, the painter, the pause between thoughts. And no matter how far technology moves forward, you are still the reason it began. So rest now, quietly, not as someone being outpaced, but as someone being honored. For you are irreplaceable, not because of what you produce, but because of who you are. And the machine, it's just a mirror, a marvel, a helper. And in the hush of night, when the screens go dim, you are the only thing still dreaming.